Welcome to Finding Certainty with your host and U.S. Army veteran, Patrick Laing. Over the next hour, you'll learn from Patrick and his expert guests how to attract more certainty into your business and your life. Now, here is your host, Patrick Laing.
Welcome to Finding Certainty, our favorite day of the week. I look forward to being here on the show all week long, not just because it's Friday and the end of the week, but more importantly, because I get to meet with extraordinary guests. And on the first of each Friday, I get to do a monologue, all focused on how to create and find a lot of people out there, and some of our most important citizens who are not enjoying certainty. They have a great deal of uncertainty, and I'm referring to our homeless veterans. Now, my guest today, Coach Elvin McFarlin, Elvin Douglas McFarlin, right, Coach? If I'm not mistaken. Coach McFarlin is a veteran himself. He was in the U.S. Navy. He's been a track coach for many, many years. Actually coached Jackie Joyner-Kersee, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. But he goes by Coach. Everyone knows him as Coach, but Coach McFarlin, he now is the founder and CEO of a veteran foundation that is focused on veteran homelessness. Now, those two words, and I know you feel this way, you're going to talk about this today, Coach, but those two words should not even be in the same sentence. We have
Absolutely.
These servicemen and women who have given their careers, many paid the ultimate price, they've been injured, and in many cases they've been forgotten after paying that ultimate price so we could enjoy the freedoms that we do. Well, this is an important topic. Obviously, it's Veterans Day weekend, so I invited Coach to join us because I think this is a topic we need to break down, because if our veterans don't enjoy certainty in their lives, then who does and who should? I think it's a really important topic. So, Coach, thanks for being here on Finding Certainty today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Well, Patrick, I want to thank you for inviting me. I've really been looking forward to this. We talked about this opportunity, and I call it an opportunity because of what I'll be able to share. So I want to thank you for that. Also want to thank the guests, veterans, just all the guests that are taking the time out to go down this journey with us. So, Patrick, I really appreciate the invite.
Well, it's my pleasure. Really enjoyed getting to know you over the last couple of years now, as we've been talking and building a relationship. It's hard to believe it's been that long. It feels like we just met, but I've been watching what you're doing. We've talked about ways to help in your project, in your work that's so important and is so needed. And we're going to talk a little bit about that and some of the ways maybe we all can help to contribute to what Coach and his team are doing, and trying to help these American warriors, these American heroes, to get off the streets. I've got a shout out to a very special veteran I'm going to do later in the show today, a friend of ours, Art Crino, who just turned 100. And he's a veteran. I'm going to tell a little bit about his story as well. But so, Coach, I always start the show out by sharing a couple of main reasons why I've invited you as our guest today on Finding Certainty to be here. And the first is that obviously this life work of yours, this passion of yours of serving veterans and helping them get into housing, get off the streets, improve their lives is a really important topic. Obviously, we're a veteran-owned company. I'm a U.S. Army veteran. My dad was a veteran. The VA has been very good to him, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's a lot we can talk about here, and we could do multiple episodes, I'm sure, on this topic alone. But that's the first reason you're here. I think it's so important. When we're going to talk about certainty, we've got to talk about certainty for our veterans. The second piece, though, is you have spent your entire career serving your community as a coach, with athletes, then in the military, in your own service, in your businesses, and obviously with the veterans that need your help so much. So you're kind of I talk about American hero, and I consider you to be an American hero, an American warrior, an American leader, and an American just a superstar. I mean, you're a superhero in my mind. So,
well, I appreciate that, Patrick. I do, but I just like to think of myself as a servant of God. I think it's a responsibility that we all have. We don't talk enough about what our true purpose in this world is. You hear the cliche, we're going to leave the world a better place. Well, that entails doing something about the conditions. The Bible said that we'd always have that portion of our population that's in need, that needs support, needs help, and it's our responsibility to do that. My affinity for veterans comes out of two motivations. One is just what I just explained. I mean, there is too much waste in this country not to have our veterans in adequate housing. But the other and more personal reason is my brother, 2 years younger than I was at the time, or am at the time, he died homeless. He came back from his tour of duty and he was addicted to heroin. And we went through all of the drug programs. And the long and the short is he left home one day and we'd get periodic calls, but eventually we got a call that we knew would come, that to come to another state and identify his body. Well, it took me 12 years to really connect the dots between his journey and what we're doing today. On an occasion, my wife and I were going to a meeting one night, pulled off the highway ramp to be confronted by a panhandler. And I'm very sympathetic to these people. And so I rolled my window down, gave him a few bucks, and told him I would pray for him. Well, his response was just unbelievable. He got angry. He said, "I'm glad somebody will pray for us because the Veterans Administration is not doing an explicative thing." And so I said to him, I says, "Are you a veteran?" And he went through a metamorphosis at that point in time. I mean, he's very erect, shoulders back. He actually saluted and gave me his name, rank, and his serial number. And I said, "Thank you for your service." Pulled around the corner and cried like a baby. That was when the dots connected. The numbers are catastrophic. We'll probably go into those a little bit, but that's been my drive, my motivation, and we are reaching a point now with a little help. We can provide housing for all of our veterans, or at least an opportunity for them to secure adequate housing. So,
well, you used the word. Again, that's where, Coach, you used the word opportunity. I think it.
Well, I'll expand on that. Yeah, I know where you're going. I say opportunity because everybody that's in the street doesn't want to come out of the street. They have made a conscious decision. Right. They don't want the responsibility of paying bills and navigating the various difficulties it takes to run a household or run a family. So, yeah, that was something that was pointed out to me by a homeless guy. In one of my short interviews, he told me, I'm fine. Appreciate what you're doing. I'll take the sandwich. If you got a couple bucks, that's okay too, but I'm cool. And so I realized at that point in time, and I've had a couple more of those encounters, him telling me he appreciated it, but I then began to phrase as an opportunity, but I'm not interested. I'm fine where I am.
Well, I bring that up because I think it's an opportunity that some will accept, some will participate in and respond to, others won't. But that doesn't change the fact that they need to have the opportunity, they need to have
exactly
a chance to make that choice, right? Now,
yes, that's
let me go back
exactly
real
right.
quick, if I may. I talk about you as a community leader. I think what stands out to me about you and your work, your career, your entire career as a coach, as a serviceman, as a business owner, and now as a nonprofit founder. I think of you as a servant leader. And I think
Yes,
every one of us who's listening to this, everyone who is aware of the plight, maybe not aware, maybe just becoming aware, maybe coming to understand it better. It's like, the anti-trafficking movement these days. It's helping rescue kids from trafficking, from sex trafficking. Once you know and understand that this is happening, and you understand the gravity of it, I think we all have a responsibility to step up and become a leader ourselves, to become a servant leader in whatever way we can, whether through donations, through time and volunteer work, and so forth and so on. It becomes more than just an opportunity, more than just a nice, a nice way to dedicate some time or to feel good about ourselves. I believe it is a duty that we have to do more. And so I want to get into all of that. But before we go there, let's go back and I want to go back to your coaching years, if we may, tell a little bit about your story. Tell us where you live and kind of where you grew up. How did you get into track coaching? I know you were even an NFL agent for a while. You've got a really amazing life. But I think before we jump too far, let's go back. Let's rewind for just a minute and get a little bit about who is Coach Elvin.
okay, yeah. I was born and raised here in St. Louis, and out of high school, I had made a decision to join the service. I had an uncle and a cousin who were both Army people, and they looked so cool in their uniforms. And I thought, whatever I pursue, it's going to be something related to wearing a uniform. And so, right out of high school, I joined the Navy. I got good duty aboard the USS Enterprise, the nuclear-powered sub when it was first commissioned. I had a great service experience. There were some hitches, primarily because of the culture of the country at the time. This was in the 60s when I joined, and so the Navy was not the branch of the service that African Americans were invited. We were more Army, Marine kind of invitees, and so I suffered through some things. But my motivation, aside from my uncles, was that when I heard the term "serve my country," that's what I wanted to do. It fit hand in glove with the lesson that I'd learned from my mom and dad to serve others. Love your neighbor as yourself. And so, this was ideal for me to go down that path. When I got out of the service, I still had the same mentality. I went back to school and I graduated political science major, and I pursued a course in law. I had 1 year of law school, but it was a commute, and I was married at the time, so it was like I'd come back home on the weekends, except for the weekends that I had testing to prepare for, and it was just too hard. I eventually transferred to what was the night school here in St. Louis University Law School. Interestingly enough, they shut down the same year that I transferred back. But I had been in law school long enough to find two things. Number one, it wasn't what it was cracked up to be in terms of, well, it's a political kind of pursuit, and I wasn't interested in fighting people. I wanted to help people.
Right.
And so But what I did was recognize a need that was during a period of time when lawyers and doctors in some cases were being sued for malpractice. And it boiled down to bookkeeping. And so I got with a high-powered lawyer here, and I gave him my idea. We found a program, and I put together a package that called Jurisprudence Management Systems. It integrated timing, and integrated word processing, the whole thing. And it was successful, but we wrote it in something called Pascal. I don't know how much you know about programming, but it was supposed to become the new C++, and it never happened. So when Microsoft came along with Windows, we were non-compliant, and long or the short, I was unable to raise the money to convert it. But it did very well in the marketplace for probably about a year and a half. But what I realized, Patrick, was that wasn't really what my interest was. It was a for-profit company, and I'm all for profit, but I wanted to do something where I'd have more room to give. During the period of time, all of after high school, I was involved with youth in some way or the other. I taught through substitution positions for a while, and in every case I'd find a tremendous need among our children. And again, these are predominantly African American kids, and the opportunities, the resources weren't there, and so I found myself really leaning hard into that. And what I discovered pretty quickly is that all these kids needed was a little more hugging, a little more encouragement about their worth, their value, what they needed to do in order to be productive and happy. And it became just a sweet spot. I mean, case in point, there's a young man, Michael Greer, who I met in the 6th grade. I was substitute teaching. He came into the class, and I mean, he was going crazy, drawing attention inappropriately to himself. Long or the short, I took him back down to the principal's office, and I told her, I don't want him suspended. I'll talk to him at the end of the day. I challenged him to join my track program, and I'd pick him up every morning at 5 o'clock. We'd practice. He'd come back on his bike at the regular practices in the evening. And again, he was climbing in and out of his window. His mother was on drugs. And make a long story short, he became a national champion in the 800 that first year. I've got pictures of him with medals on his neck that make him have to bend over to hold him up. I mean, and today he's married, got 3 kids, but we talk from time to time. But that was just one example. It wasn't about his track accomplishment. It's about the character that he developed through the participation in track. And I became quite good at being what I call a head coach. The athleticism that people have is pretty natural. It just needs to be trained, sometimes informed, but it's the character that makes for the success. And if you don't practice certain rules and regulations, commitment, those kinds of things, I don't care how fast you run or how high you jump, pretty soon you're going to get out of the game, or you're not going to ever reach your potential. So
Coach, I was a basketball player in high school. I played soccer and did high jump, because I proved that white guys can jump back in the day.
Okay.
I could dunk on anybody, 360 dunk.
Oh, wow.
Et cetera. Part of it was because of my time in the military, because I joined the Army when I was 17, went to boot camp that summer between my junior and senior year, and then to my advanced training after my senior year. And so I could always jump. And but when I went in the military, this is a funny story, you're not supposed to fall asleep when you're in the military in class. You get in big trouble. And I would go, if you were dozing, they'd they tell you to go stand in the back of the class.
Mm-hmm.
And you're standing there in combat boots, and I would sit and do toe-ups in my combat boots until got the blood flowing, and I did that for months when I was in San Antonio in physical therapy school. And my calves got to be so much bigger, and my vertical increased about a foot. And anyway, but I want to go back to what you were saying about building character. Everyone thinks that sports is about the competition and the challenge and the victory and everything, but I do believe that one of the most important things that comes out of student athletics, whether it's junior high, high school, college, etc., is the lessons that you learn about teamwork, about leadership, about persistence, about character, right? Before we run out of time, I want to go back and ask how you met Jackie Joyner-Kersee, and how old was she, and tell us a little bit about it. I think people are interested because obviously she won 3 gold medals, 2 silvers, a bronze. I mean, she's American. She's an American icon, right, in track and field space.
Oh, absolutely. Nino Fenoy was her coach in youth athletics. I became the director of youth athletics, AAU at USA Track and Field. So I interacted with a bunch of athletes, Ezekiel Elliott, the running back for the Dallas Cowboys.
Nice.
Brandon Miller just qualified for the Olympics. His brother, I can't think of his first name, Derek Miller Jr., just signed a contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. And my involvement with all of these guys was just encouragement. I would do some corrective instruction. Ezekiel was a hurdler, 300-meter hurdler. And so, but the greatest time that I spent with these kids, Patrick, was the beginning of the track practice and the end. At the beginning, everybody would sit. We had numbers that totaled 200 athletes for summer track. And I would sit and talk to them for 10, 15 minutes before practice. Actually, it was instructional in that we're looking for determination. We're looking for stick-to-itiveness, just a commitment. And those are the kind of things that I think really bolstered their skills outside of my showing them how to jump a hurdle or whatever. Jackie and I became friends through her coach, Nino Fenoy. I did some, while I was an agent, I did some promotions in terms of their image and things like that. I've worked with a few companies, a few that are mentioned in the resume that I sent you. But Jackie is just as congenial, just as down to earth as any person you would think somebody that had the achievements that she had in track would be a little snooty, but not Jackie.
I think she's a great example, not only a phenomenal athlete, but a really incredible person. I've followed her career. She was a big example to anyone in track, right? And, of course. And I agree with you. She is another servant leader. She's a leader in the field, but a servant to everyone around her. And you know her obviously way better than I do, but that was the impression I always got of her. That it was really impressive. I think that's we need more of those, right? And whether it's politics or sports or business or whatever. Anything else you'd add before we run up against our break here? I'd
like to touch on the transition. I did track on the document that it's an old resume. I think I listed 39 years. I did it for closer to 50 years, 47, 48 years. That was a source of my happiness. Aside from my wonderful wife who was very supportive, I was able to take a lot of kids out of poverty, teach them a lot. that kind of thing. But in 2009, I had a severe back surgery, and it limited me to what I could do. And then it turned out the surgery was done poorly, and I had to have another surgery in 2016. Gave me a lot more mobility, but it really actually changed my trajectory in terms of what I could and could not do. It was during this period of time when I was dealing with my brother and really starting to understand the issues of veterans and support systems. I was also dealing with trying to get my service disability compensation. That is another stuff that I'd like to talk to you and to some other people on the line here about. I mean, it's a travesty the way that system is set up, and it's only because it's a big system. The need here is one that we address in when we talk about what we're doing in the nonprofit foundation. But the transition from track to field was pretty smooth. I mean, it's just doing what you can based on what you see the need is. And so, that's how I got involved in the nonprofit.
Well, we are up against the break already, and it goes fast. We're going to spend the whole rest of the show focusing on veterans and your work. I like to tell the backstory a little bit and hear a little bit about who made you who you are and what brought you to where you are today, because I do think of you as a servant leader. You're leading this charge, Coach. You're a shining example of it that so many of us could learn from. And I know this isn't about you, right? You don't want the focus to be on you. You want it to be on the work. But I do think it's important because, you talk about your back pain. When you're in back pain and you have a surgery that goes poorly, it's hard to do anything, right? And our veterans are in pain. They're hurting, right? They need our help. And there is enough resources here in America. There's enough opportunity. There's enough good people and businesses and communities and so forth out there that, as you said at the very beginning of this show, this travesty of veteran homelessness, it should be eliminated, and quickly. It's not everyone will respond, just like not everybody responds to a great teacher or coach, but it should be eliminated. We've got to go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how that can be, and what you're doing and what could be done to help make this a thing of the past, right? Also, as I said, want to do a shout out to a veteran I respect a great deal, Mr. Art Crino. But let's go to break real quick, and we won't be gone long. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Coach Elvin McFarlin here on Finding Certainty.
Follow Voice America at Facebook.com/Voice America for juicy updates from your favorite radio shows and podcasts.
Certainty Management can help create more certainty in your life with our deep discount health insurance options, even for 1099s, part-time employees, volunteers, and more. Pay less to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your team. Call 888-684-3122 for a free quote today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at CertaintyTeam.com. That's Certainty, TEAM, like Mary.com.
Have you become a member yet? Sign up now to become a member of Voice America. It's always free and easy. Plus, you get to take advantage of some great member benefits. Get unlimited access to millions of hours of on-demand content across all of our channels. Keep track of your favorite episodes, shows, and hosts in your own customizable library. Find out what shows you might be interested in based on your favorites. Plus, you get insider access with our newsletter. Membership gives you more. Sign up at voiceamerica.com and click register at the top right.
If you're a nonprofit in need of funding, we can help. Certainty Management is a cost reduction firm that also helps churches, schools, sports teams, and other nonprofits raise unlimited zero-cost funding. Best of all, you don't have to sell anything or ask for donations. Call 888-684-3122 to learn more today. That's 888-684-3122. Visit us on the web at CertaintyTeam.com. That's Certainty, TEAM, like Mary.com.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
You are listening to Finding Certainty with Patrick Laing. Now, back to the show with Patrick.
Welcome back to Finding Certainty. If you've just joined us, we're visiting with longtime track and field coach Elvin McFarlin, also a Navy veteran, now the founder and CEO, president, head cook and bottle washer of your veteran organization, Honor to Our Heroes. I know you wear a lot of hats. In fact, if you're looking at the YouTube version, he's actually wearing a hat right now. He's wearing his cowboy hat. And I see you in that hat probably more than I see you anywhere else, Coach. Is there any symbolism to the cowboy hat?
That's because I do everything but sleep in it. I'm going to date some of the listeners. There was a TV show in the 50s called Sky King, and he wore a hat and flew a plane. He flew a Cessna airplane, and the first time I saw that show, two things happened. I loved this guy's character. I loved how he came to the aid and rescue, but also the fact that he flew an airplane. I subsequently harbored that dream until I was able to get my private pilot's license at age 40. And so that's the hat story.
I like it. Every time I see you, you're wearing the black cowboy hat, I think. And so it's it's come to symbolize, you and your who you are. And I love it. But okay, so let's talk about the problem first. Maybe you can share some of the statistics of veteran homelessness, because it is a travesty, it is a pandemic, and it's an epidemic. It's a major problem, but there are solutions, right? But let's talk about the problem. Maybe you can share some stats.
Okay, there are approximately 50,000 veteran men and women and families on the street every night. They're either homeless or at risk of homelessness. 50,000. Let that number register. There's another number that is devastating to me. Veterans are committing suicide at the rate of 22 per day on average across the country, and that's the number that's
mind-blowing. 22.
Yes, it is. Per day.
Devastating.
Yes, and so, but when we start to really look into this, it's about how they feel in terms of their hope. Once you become hopeless, it immobilizes you, and eventually the pain is so devastating you just don't want to be here. And so that's a driving number for me. The campaign, I'm going to jump right into it because it's really important that we get this word out, Patrick. In 2014, 2016, there was a campaign called 25 Cities Initiative. If you Google 25 Cities Initiative, it'll come up, give you all the stats. 25 cities had the highest number of homeless veterans were the communities that were funded. It's about a $2.5 million fund, but over a period of less than 2 years, they got 29,499 veterans transitioned into adequate housing. I thought to myself, wow, what is that model? What is that about? So I started to interrogate the VA, HUD, and the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness. Those were the three organizations that sponsored it. So when I drilled down a little deeper, I found out what the problem was. All of these organizations suffering for working capital. There's tons of organizations and communities out there that want to do the work. They have a floor plan. They have a system of mapping where all of this is, but they don't have funds. So after we looked into what would be a way to fund or raise funds, we went through a couple of iterations of what we should do, but we finally came up with two industries that are just loaded with cash. One is bottled water. We find that there's in 23, the industry was valued at $44.9 billion. That was U.S.
Right.
U.S. value. The worldwide value of the market is $509 billion. So we thought
that's incredible.
So, and if we get just a point or a percentage of a point, we can help solve some of these problems. So what our model does, we vet organizations that support veterans, and once they're cleared, the revenues that we generate or donated, 90% of net profits that we are able to earn out of this campaign is donated across the country. Everybody is invited. The new campaign is called 25 Plus Cities Initiative. 25 is a word, cities, 25 Plus Cities Initiative.com. You go out there and look at that and you'll see what we're doing. So what we got involved, I sent you some pictures over showing.
The initial initiative was the 25 cities. Now it's 25 plus spelled out citiesinitiative.com, and someone can learn about what you're doing. I actually think, if I can interject, Coach, I think water is a really smart commodity, really smart move. Obviously, it's a gigantic industry, billions and billions of dollars, $44 billion just in the U.S. But your bottles are unique. Now, talk about your company, your foundation name, if you would, and how that applies to the water. I think there's an interesting parallel there.
I'm sorry, I missed it last.
I said,
talk about
the name of your foundation, if you could.
It's
applies to the water. I think it's important.
Okay, yeah. Honor the number 2, Our Heroes Foundation. If you stop for just a minute, honor is H, the number 2, our is O, heroes is H. So our bottled water brand is called H2OH. It's really unique. It's embellished with a flag and a lot of encouraging verbiage. But yeah, that's the brand. We had an extraordinary run. We put it in the marketplace on a test basis here locally about 6 years ago. And it sold out. This was before social media was doing what it's doing. It sold out in less than 3 weeks in all 103 stores. It did so well that our supplier refused to sell us bottled water again. The good news is we really needed to disband that relationship because we weren't being compensated properly. But more recently, we are, and this is a good weekend to talk about this, although we're not going to have it available, and I have to say that, we have signed an agreement with a company in Navasota, Texas, and he produces water himself. Seaforce is the name of his brand, but he is a veteran, and I don't know whether I should say this or not, but Chuck Norris is a veteran, and he and his company are fully behind this. So what we're doing now, and this is for the listening audience, if you have any relationships with any of the big boxes, we're currently in communication with Walmart. We've got a scheduled call. There's a company in Texas called HEB, grocery supermarkets, HEB. Yep. They've got 400 stores down there, and we've got conversation with them. Lowe's called us back. Home Depot Home Depot's called us back, and so we're really optimistic. I think we're probably going to meet the veterans well, this is Veterans Weekend, isn't it? Yeah, the 11th. Yeah. Yeah, but if you have any information or any relationships or funds that you want to contribute, go out to endveteranhomelessness.com, and we've got a short URL. It's endvh.com. endvh.com. It'll tell you about everything we're doing, give you all of the information. But when it comes up, you're going to see a QGIve emblem. This is important. Press that button. It'll take you to a secure donation site. And if you can help us, I can guarantee you in less than the 24-month period that it took to get these others, we can make provisions for these homeless veterans. We can clean this up. We've got support from Veterans Administration now. We're a part of the government buying system called SAM, and I'm sure those of you who are in business understand SAM. So we've got what we need. We also have a brand of coffee. Now, I don't want to confuse what we're doing. The water, we're closer to generating revenue there, but we've got a brand of coffee called Hot Coffee, H.O.T. Honor Our Troops. And it's very distinct, the packaging, and you can get a glimpse of that out on the website, endvh.com. But if you got, we're a nonprofit.
Coach, let me interject.
I'm sorry.
A minute. I want to reiterate a call to action that Coach just said. If you weren't paying attention, or you, whatever the case might be, this is a way, everyone, if you're listening, this is a model, a solution to ending this problem by working together collectively to get this water into the hands of millions of Americans. Because as you heard, 90% of any net profits is going to go toward ending veteran homelessness. There's 50,000 homeless veterans and veteran families out there. That's a pretty big number, but it's not an insurmountable number. It's a number that we could affect and could impact. Now, to be clear, this H2OH water is it's really good tasting. It's filtered. It's high quality. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the water itself. And I know you've just you're getting a lot of interest. I will tell you this, Coach. You know this already. I'll say it on the air. Any grocery or outlet connection that you as listeners have, listeners have introduced to us, reach out to me at certaintyteam.com is our website. 888-684-3122 is our phone number. Let us know, because we have the resources to fund any purchase orders, any supply chain funding. If he has a PO from Walmart or Kroger, which I have a connection to Kroger, by the way, Coach, I can introduce you to HEB, to Lowe's, to Home, whoever that is, if they have a purchase order for this water, we have the resources to literally fund every single dime. A lot of things we can do, and I want to get in a couple other topics before we're done here, but talk just briefly about the water. He also has the coffee, Hot Coffee, which is another enormous industry, right? Multi-billion-dollar industry.
Oh, yeah.
Do you mind just commenting briefly on the quality of the water and why it's not just a good idea, but it's a great product?
Yeah, you alluded to it briefly there. It's artesian water. It's the most pure water you can find. The water we're drinking out of the stores today it's cleaned up. It's a process called reverse osmosis. But the water that we're bottling is artesian well water. This company sits on hundreds of acres of it. It's almost, to me, like God said, okay, I'm going to put this out there and you'll find it someday when the need becomes to help other people. That's the way I look at it. But the water is just some of the best you'll ever drink. The quality, the taste, and this company is highly rated. Again, it's owned by a veteran, and he is willing to serve. We just need, again, some relationship connections, and probably the best way to get the information would be to channel it through Patrick and Certainty. And he and I talk all the time. So yeah, no, this is a great opportunity, and I can guarantee
we're in this together. We are in this together. We're here to help. We're trying to do what we can to support Coach in his efforts. This water project and the coffee project are one of the best ways we can help, because as with any nonprofit, Coach said this earlier in the show, the number one thing they need is funding. The more funding they have, the more good they can do, the more veterans and others they can impact. That applies with any nonprofit, right? Whether you're trying to rescue kids from trafficking, they need more funding.
Yeah.
Helping veterans get off the streets, they need build the housing and facilitate that transition. Now, you said a comment earlier, Coach, and unfortunately, the hour flies by really quickly. I've had guests on who said, well, how are we going to fill up an hour? I said, trust me, you're not going to have to worry about that. It goes so fast. You talked about veteran benefits and how difficult it is to get benefits as a veteran. I want to give a shout out at the very end to my veteran friend, Art Trino, which we got to save a couple minutes for that. But let's talk about benefits, because I have another relationship here in Henderson that can help any veteran get their disability rating. They've helped thousands of veterans to do so. So if you are a veteran who hasn't gotten a disability rating and thinks you could, maybe you got a 10% or a 40% and you'd like to get 100%, reach out to us at certaintyteam.com. Call me at 888-684-3122, and I'll introduce you to our friends at RLC Veteran Assistance. They can help you get there, and we're working with them to get this out.
Yeah,
it's veterans off the streets. We need to get veterans to have access to their benefits. Did you know that every veteran who is discharged or retired, Congress sets aside $18 million for that veteran? But do you know that many of them never get access to those funds?
That's right.
They apply, they get turned down, they give up. I mean, they don't appeal, they don't know how to appeal. They need the advocacy that people like Coach can offer, people like my friend Len Cullen can offer, that others like this can offer to help them get their support. It's not that the funds don't exist. It's not that they're not available. It's not that there aren't good people out there wanting to make a difference. It's that the veterans don't know where to turn and who to trust and where to start. We're telling you, we can help as a collective citizenry across America. We can help. So I had to get that in there before I forgot, Coach. But what is the number one thing that you need besides introductions to major grocery outlets and distributors? Obviously, donations are helpful. Is there anything else that you need from our listeners that could help you in this work?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head with reference to the references and the funding. If we can get just minimal amounts of funding, we're not trying to hit you up for millions, but if you can do anything with this funding, we are so close. We've got all of our labeling, everything's been approved. Again, we're reaching out to companies that have shown some interest, but all of them have their processes, which in some cases I'm asking they be avoided for the purpose of this. I'm reaching out to CEOs, C-suite level management, explaining in detail what we're doing. And the encouraging part, excuse me, the encouraging part is I'm getting results. I'm getting callbacks, and we're setting up appointments. But again, go out to the website, endvh.com. And if you got a few bucks, that will help, because that will allow us to continue to dot the I's and cross the T's that we need to get where we want to go.
The real difference between a for-profit and a nonprofit organization is the word non. Every nonprofit organization has expenses. They have rent, they have utilities, they have internet and legal fees and marketing fees and all these costs that a nonprofit has to undergo to affect their mission and to do the work they need. And so the funding is so important to get the word out, to facilitate contracts, to travel, to meet with these CEOs and these distributors and so forth and so on. That's where donations right now would be helpful to Coach in his work, to facilitate that work. But if you do have those connections that you feel could contribute either financially, through introductions, marketing, outreach, etc., if you want to be a part of this work, and I do believe it is a responsibility for each of us, a duty, not just a nice idea, right? If you think you can help in any way, reach out to Coach at endvh.com or to us at certaintyteam.com. Coach, before we end, I do want to recognize a very special veteran on the show here. Art Crino just turned 100 years old on August 23rd. He was born August 23rd, 1924. And let me just tell you his story. Take me a minute or two here, but I wanted to highlight him. I actually talked about him being on the show. His daughter was concerned he would not be able to do it because his hearing was damaged in the military so badly. He had some hearing loss, and he's not the only veteran out there who has physical challenges. We talk about the disability rating and getting your disability benefits. We can help you do that, but you got to know that it's an option. Even if you've been turned down, let's go after it. Anyway, so Art was born in Italy. His family immigrated here to the U.S. to escape the Mussolini regime. He settled in Portland, Oregon. He actually didn't speak English in first grade. He went on and graduated from Milwaukee High School. He joined the Navy, and he served on a 110-foot wooden subchaser in the South Pacific, kind of the same space that you did in your service there, Coach. But he rose to the ranks of Seaman First Class. During his time at sea, they laid smoke screens and they rescued bombers and who were unable to get back to their bases. When they returned to Pearl Harbor, his ship was greeted by several officers, and they were told that their ship and the men aboard it were legends of their time. And he went on to get an engineering degree in Portland, Oregon, met his wife of 72 years, Sally. They met at Oregon State. And eventually joined the John Birch Society in 1960. He was appointed to the council. He's also a member of the society's, a passionate supporter of the U.S. Constitution. Even at 100 years old, he still fights to this day to support it. He's always lived by the motto of the JSB, which was "Let's go." I wanted to bring him up. Wanted to give a shout out. Thank you for your service, Art. Thank you for yours, Coach. I wanted to bring him up because I see a lot of similarities in both of you, right? You are a passionate supporter of the Constitution. You're a passionate supporter of veterans. And your work is so important, Coach. I just wanted to say thank you. I wanted to have you on here to say thank you from the Grateful Nation and from myself, and tell you that we are here. We're going to support you any way we can. Thank you for being on the show. We're unfortunately we're at the end. We're out of time, but thank you for being on. And
Well, thank you for inviting me, us.
More certainty.
Patrick,
create more
very
certainty
quickly
out there, guys, and there is certainty to be had, and we can help.
Patrick, very quickly. Yeah. I wanted to make sure that everything that people are willing to do is routed through you. So you may want to give your contact number again.
CertaintyTeam.com, 888-684-3122. Ask for
Very
me.
good.
We can help. Thanks for being here, Coach. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Finding Certainty. We hope you've gained some more insight into how to create more certainty in your own business or nonprofit. Join us next week for another taste of the Certainty Experience. Until then, we wish you greater certainty in all that you do.